Katate Tomoe, single hand circle. This is related to Tomoe Nage. I'm not going to go into a lot of the details on Tomoe Nage. You can see a separate video on that, Suigetsukan Tomoe Nage. But there are a lot of similarities. In fact, the version that we practice is probably the most different from Tomoe Nage that I've seen. I've seen a few different versions of this throw, but I'm going to go over primarily the version that we practice at the dojo. One thing that I think is helpful to note is tomoe, generally translated as either circle or comma. In either case, there's a curve. The idea of a curve, I often hear people call Tomoe Nage stomach throw, and that's because you're putting your foot on their stomach, but tomoe doesn't actually mean stomach, it just means circle or comma. Same thing with Katate Tomoe. Tomoe is not stomach, but circle or comma. I am going to put my foot up near the stomach. On this one, it's more of a hip check. I'm going to put my foot more on the hip or the pelvis rather than the stomach. And Katate is single hand. Pretty much every version of this I've seen, Tori, the person throwing, is using both hands, but they're grabbing one arm of uke. They're not grabbing their hand, but they're grabbing just one arm. The version that we practice is from a roundhouse punch. Most of the other versions I've seen are either from a push or a straight punch. Also, most of the other versions of Katate Tomoe I've seen are similar to Tomoe Nage in that you're basically going straight over. With Tomoe Nage, I'm dropping backwards and throwing you over me. I might go a little bit over one side or the other or straight over, but I'm basically going straight on this line. We're moving here, pressure's coming forward, I'm dropping and throwing backwards. Most of the versions of Katate Tomoe I've seen are similar to that direction. The biggest difference that I've seen with our version is it's more of a spinning, a circle going parallel to the ground. In fact, I usually make sure to check my room when I'm throwing this, because when I throw, I'm not throwing straight behind me, but I'm making a 270-degree turn, 3/4 throw. So if you're coming at me this way, you're going to go all the way around, and I'm throwing that way. The reason why that big circle is created is because someone's throwing a roundhouse punch and I'm using their momentum to create my throw. When that punch comes, both my arms are going to be up and I'm going in like I'm going to block, but I'm not going to stop their momentum. It's not the punch comes, I stop them, block, grab them, and throw, which is what I often see on some of the other versions, particularly from a straight punch, blocking and locking up the arm, stopping their motion, and then throwing. I think some of the other versions with a push make a little more sense. That the push comes and you don't stop it, but you pull from the push to create your momentum, and this is a similar idea. I'm putting my arms up to create a frame, and I'm fading away from the punch because I don't want to stop their motion. I'm assuming they're committing with a punch. Maybe they even have a weapon with like a stick or a knife. The big arching motion where they're really committed to coming in. I don't want to stop that motion. I want to grab it and continue it. So what I've done, I'll give you a couple different ways to practice this. One, just wrapped a gi around a pillow. I've taken a head off a mop and stuck it through to create some arms. Imagine that punch is coming and I'm blocking. My hand's coming up, I'm blocking, my hand's up, and as it comes over, I'm grabbing the gi on top of the forearm and bicep or shoulder. And there's going to be this spinning motion. They're throwing that punch, and I'm creating a frame and spinning away from the punch and pulling them to continue that motion. As I spin and drop, that outside leg spinning comes up, and I put it up on the hip or the pelvis. Drop back and throw. So if they're coming at me this way, I'm going to be throwing all the way around, 3/4 turn towards the wall that way. Comes in, punch, drop, and throw. Same thing from the other direction. We're coming straight at me this way towards the camera. It's going to go all the way around, 3/4 turn, and throw towards the wall that way. The punch comes, I fade, drop, put my foot on the hip, and throw. That's the version of Katate Tomoe that we practice at the dojo. You can also practice kumikata with your belts. I put 2 in the door. You probably do it with just 1 if you want. Put in 2 just to show very quickly the difference between this and Tomoe Nage. With Tomoe Nage, I'm holding different sides of the gi, maybe the arm and the lapel. Foot goes up, a drop, and I'm throwing straight back. Right up the middle, through, and straight back. That's Katate Tomoe, catching the arm, and then the outside foot is coming up on the outside hip. Drop, and roll. It's coming up, drop, and roll. Drop, and roll. Drop, and roll. Good luck practicing Katate Tomoe at home.